what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media. It's been a minute. Haven't done a team preview in a little while. I definitely want to try to get back to doing that as we get into the months of May, June, July, and maybe a little bit in August. Just been so busy with work. I've been picking up a lot of shifts. They've been calling me in, all that other, you know how work goes. But we're going to try to get back to it. I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still breathing, and God still has a plan. We want to look at Oklahoma today, take a crack at the Sooners as they enter their first year in the SEC. And that's huge. A lot of people would say one of two things. Oklahoma's really good, so they should have no problem. Or you might say the SEC is tough, they're not used to it, and they're going to struggle. And you would say the same for Texas. I put Texas, I want to say at 10-2. I'm going to have a little less than that for Oklahoma, but I still think they could do okay. I view both of those teams coming into this year. I view them with a lot of talent returning, not a whole lot that you lose to the draft. And I view them as teams that could really be on everybody's radar for the college football playoff this year and maybe a national title hunt. And I know it's crazy to say that, at least about Oklahoma. You can make a case for Texas all day long, and Steve Sarkisian coming off a playoff run, bringing back Quinn Ewers. Oklahoma, here's the thing: it that they've had offensive line turnover at Oklahoma this offseason, which isn't, you would think, is not too big of a deal, but it really is. Outside of that, though, they've they've done some really good things this offseason. Their spring game happened. It looked pretty good. Um, so I think that it's one of those things where Oklahoma is going into a situation, like I said, they're not used to. There's going to always be high expectations. And I would say you don't even have to blame Lincoln Riley, the coach before Brent Venables, but that's just how it's always been. Go back to even Bob Stoops. I mean, this has been a dominant program in college football for the past few decades, honestly. And really, I mean, all time. I mean, they're not a below 500 program. They're not a below 500 team ever. They're always going to make a bowl game. They're always going to try to compete for the Big 12. They always have. Yes, they miss the championship and miss the mark sometimes, but they're always in the hunt. Now they're in the SEC, and it's a step up because you're going to have to deal with now the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Tennessees, the Ole Miss, the LSU, those top five teams. Now Alabama, of course, I mentioned them, and Caleb DeBoer. We'll see what he wants to do and what he does ultimately do as the new head coach. It's not Nick Saban's show, so maybe it won't be much of a challenge. I don't know. I'm just a fan, but I don't know what to expect from a team like that. But, you know, they got an interesting schedule here to kick off the SEC and make their debut. So I definitely want to pull that up here and let's get this layout here real quick. So they open up with Temple, Houston, and Tulane. Those three games should be no problem. They're all at home. Your first 4 or 5 games, actually 4 games, are in Norman. You play Tennessee. You're supposed to play them, I think, back in COVID, but of course we know what happened there in 2020. So they put it back on the schedule for you. That's pretty good. Tennessee's going to be a good team this year. Um, you bring back I Joe Milton. You got Nico in the back room. at quarterback, so many wide receiver weapons. Josh Heupel has done a fantastic job with the Volunteers. That's going to be a tough game. Your first true road test on the SEC. Oh boy, I could make jokes about Auburn all day long, but when you go to Auburn, it's a different level. I would know as an Alabama fan, Georgia fans can tell you that. I know that Georgia kind of seems to have dominated the last couple times, but they have faced some turmoil there at Jordan Hare Stadium. That's going to be a tough challenge. Auburn's really, really good at home. I've looked at Auburn. I think they're going to be better this year in ways with Peyton Thorne at quarterback and guys on the defense. But, you know, it's still one of those games that maybe it shouldn't be too much that Oklahoma can't handle. Texas, South Carolina, uh, it's kind of a roller coaster of a season for you. Texas, I expect to get back to the playoffs, especially with there being 12 teams. It would not surprise me if Texas wins a national title with Quinn Ewers and company, with Sarkeesian at coach. It wouldn't surprise me. That's going to be your toughest game by far on the schedule. No questions asked. South Carolina at Ole Miss. These are teams you could probably handle. You could probably handle South Carolina at Ole Miss. That's a tough road game. I don't really see many trap games. Like, come on, Maine. I'm not going to diss a team, but it's Maine. You should be able to handle them. At Missouri, you get a bye week. You play my Alabama Crimson Tide, and then you play at LSU to close the season out. That LSU game intrigues me actually because I know that they lost their quarterback Jaden Daniels. He's with Washington now. He's in the NFL. Haven't looked too much into these Tigers yet, but Brian Kelly's a really good coach, really good on the defense. I know they've struggled with that at LSU, and they've been an offensive product. I'd be interested to see what they look like. I really would, and that's a tough place to have them on your schedule, being the last game of the season. LSU usually plays Texas A&M there, but I guess they kind of switched it up a little bit. I'm sure they still play Texas A&M somewhere on the schedule, but to play Oklahoma last on the schedule for LSU, I think, and having it at home field advantage is going to be a big factor for the Tigers. I really don't know about how Oklahoma is going to handle that game, but again, if I had to handpick these teams, like, okay, well, let's talk basics here. What teams are they going to be better than? They're going to be better than those first three that you see: Temple, Houston, and Tulane. Are they gonna be better than Tennessee? We don't know. That's a question mark. Are they gonna be better than Auburn? We would assume. Texas, no. South Carolina, yes. At Ole Miss, don't know what to make about Ole Miss. I love the Lane train, but I don't know. Maine, you're gonna be better than Maine. At Missouri, Missouri was a good team last year. Won 10 9, 10 games last year. Are they going to be better than Alabama? Talent wise, maybe not. Alabama's got a lot of talent, but a new head coach taking over for Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer, I would hope Alabama's better than Oklahoma. However, getting them at home, honestly, I got to give a win there to the Sooners. That's going to be tough. And then I mentioned LSU. I would expect you to probably be better there. So it's a really interesting situation for Oklahoma. I think that they come into this new conference. I mean, the conference isn't new, but it's new to Oklahoma. I think they come into this with a lot of fair game. I think they come into this with a lot of toughness, talent, grit. They have it all. They really do, and it's it's really. I would say 8-4, 9-3 is what you need to shoot for. Is that your ceiling? I don't know. I mean, I did come up with a record prediction, and I'll just go ahead and throw it up here, and we'll make this a quick video. But I gotta say 9-3. I do think they get Alabama this year. I think that's going to be one of Alabama's losses under Kalen DeBoer in year one. Uh, Ole Miss. Here's the thing: Brent Venables knows defense. Lane Kiffin does not play defense. I'm not going to say he doesn't know it. I'm not too high on Ole Miss as a defensive team, but they are a elite offensive unit uh, with talent everywhere, and they have a guy or two to replace, and that's fine. That's going to happen. But um, at Ole Miss, it's something tells me Oklahoma could go into that environment and pull off a road win, a road upset. South Carolina, you're going to be better than. If I'm giving the at most here, I'm sticking to 9-3. And at most, you are losing to these three teams, in my opinion. I do not expect Oklahoma to go 11-1. I don't think they hit 10 wins. I'm going to peg them at 9. And I'm going to say you lose to Tennessee. I think you can make a case for that. Again, that game is at home, but I think Tennessee's going to be pretty prepared. Again, we'll have to look at their schedule some other time if we can. You're coming off like that's your first test. That's your first SEC test of the season. You're going to play Temple, Houston, and Tulane before that. And that's not a bad stretch. And that's not a bad thing that you got to play some non-conference opponents, whether they're strong or they're weak. You got to play them. I think you picked some tough opponents there in terms of they're really good programs and really good teams. Temple's pretty good. Houston, um, Tulane, what we've seen them do the past few seasons. Really, really good non-conference schedule there. But then you got to step up, and put the big boy pants on and play Tennessee. I really don't know. I don't know if you could. You could win that game. I don't want to say easily. I don't want to say no problem though. My gut says Tennessee will get you. Texas will get you, and then I'm going to say LSU gets you. You're lucky you don't have Georgia. Yes, I'm picking them to beat Alabama. Alabama's got a new coach. They have a lot of question marks right now. Um, Struggled a little bit defensively at A-Day other than maybe a player or two in, like, Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. Oklahoma, they're good. They're really good, and they should listen, a new conference and you win 9 games. Not like a but new to them, and they come into the SEC their first year and they win 9 games? Come on. Who why would you not take that as a good result? That might even set you up to be an at-large team for the playoff. Maybe. I don't know what the scenario is going to be for the playoffs for like 9 or 10 win teams. Or let me rephrase that, 3 or 2 loss teams. I don't know. But I do know that Oklahoma is talented and they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of potential this year. And anything shy of 8 or 9 wins is just gonna look bad. It really, really is. Man, it is crazy because, I would say that sounds kinda crazy because I know that they've dominated the Big 12 for 5, 6 years for the most part. They've taken some years off, obviously, but it's I don't know. You just have to face reality, Oklahoma. Just not hitting 10 wins this year. You're not hitting 11 either. But could be wrong. Crazy things happen in college football. I'll say this, and I've said it before on here, but after that TCU run, I know they got blown out by Georgia, but after TCU came out of nowhere and made a national title, I think it's all on the table that anything can and probably will happen in college football. And that's my 2 cents on it. And that's also my 2 cents on Oklahoma. So I got them at 9-3. Tennessee, Texas, and LSU are your losses this year. And that will do it for the 2024 Oklahoma Sooners season preview. Love you guys. Jesus loves you. God bless. Keep your head up. And from an Alabama fan, roll tide. Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media. Check it out. I love y'all. Peace.